Now, the important points for me is, how did we get to do the work? One, we identified the research need and we developed and proposed a workable solution in a timely fashion. In other words, we were ready to go when the issue came up. And I was very pleased with the team we had working on that and the work they did very quickly to try and get the work happening. We talked before about the need to engage and build a relationship. Well, AIC is respected and trusted because of that and the quality of our research, the fact that we're very ethical in our research. Agencies from the states and territories and with the Commonwealth were prepared to work with us and to give us access to data because we have that reputation for quality work done in an appropriate way. While we're part of government, we also have a degree of independence, as I've said before. So whilst, if you like, it gives government some comfort. We're part of government, but we're not. So we can be trusted because we're part of government, but we're also independent enough that, in fact, we can still do an objective analysis of what's going on and produce a useful report. So it sort of works both ways in our favour. And in fact, the Foreign Minister, Mr Smith, when he was in India a few months ago, was talking about when AIC was asked to do the work and was saying that, you know, we're independent and we have that expertise and we could do a good job to create a national estimate. And that was picked up by, I think, 200 media sites in about 3 minutes, which was, as we didn't actually know about it at the time, was interesting. We also have a strong history of partnering, as I've said, with law enforcement agencies and developing and using confidential data. So again, they could trust us not to do the wrong thing with the data. This is pretty sensitive stuff. We don't want to wreck it. We don't want to do anything inappropriate. We want to get a good, sound outcome that we can justify. That's important. We're not just going to sort of go for the hysterical response. And we had in-house expertise. We've worked a lot with this sort of data. We have a lot of high-quality researchers that meant they could trust us again to actually get the job done in an appropriate way. But we only managed to achieve all this because we managed to have those good relationships, that we were seen as a good player who could do the right thing and could work effectively with other agencies. So that's an example where we've had to respond very quickly to an emerging trend or emerging issue. And sometimes we can do it, sometimes we can't. This is an example we managed to do it, and I think the outcomes will be important for the country, but also important for the AIC. Just to finish off on the research side, we've developed a large number of capabilities and a large number of skills and expertise in the staff over the years. Things that we're looking at expanding on at the moment would be, firstly, training and technical assistance programs, providing skills back into the sector, whether they be crime prevention officers at local government, local community groups, police agencies, justice departments, policymakers in government. Teaching people how to better do performance measurement, program evaluation, and also how they can put in place good quality crime prevention programs that will actually make a difference on the ground. That's an important area which we're trying to expand at the moment. We've also spent a bit of time enhancing our analysis and analytical skills. The crime modelling and forecasting, as I've said, has become a new theme for us. This idea of being able to crunch hardcore numbers and really take them to very complex statistical modelling processes. Now that analysis capability is very important for us. Most agencies don't have it, and it means we can get in there and play with very large data sets the police may hold and also provide good interpretation of that information as to what crime trends there are. We've also developed a geospatial analysis capability, mapping crime onto particular geographical areas and then trying to explore the underlying reasons for why that crime's occurring. And an example of that is this. That's a bushfire arson map, which each dot you see is a deliberate fire that's been lit in that particular area. And what the attempt to do is, once we've actually got those fires mapped, is to go beyond where you can see clear constellations, such as there and there and there, to actually explore why those constellations are occurring. What are the social factors, the community factors, the geographic factors that are leading to fires being committed in those particular areas so much. Once you've identified that, you can then move to prevention strategies. So that's a good example where we're trying to use our geospatial analysis capability. And a number of projects are underway right now, which I think are being talked about later today as well, looking at things like violent crime analysis in the same sort of way and seeing where violent crime's occurring and hoping to look at why. So that's the end of the research side. I'll just finish off with talking a bit about the other side of the AIC, knowledge repository and dissemination. As I said at the very start, you can do really good quality research, but I actually want it to be used. I want it to be applied and to make a difference to policy, to practice, to criminal justice behaviour and processes. To do that, we've got to get the material out there. So the first step for us is, okay, what do we use when we come to do our own research? Well, we've got a really great library, which you'll be hearing about later, the J.V. Barry Library, one of the best criminology collections in the country. Gives us access to a range of online search engines as well. So we use that to sort of inform our own work when we're actually doing it. Obviously, we create our own intellectual property, which you've seen on the sides of the room. when we've actually got that creation, though, how do we get it out there to the public? How do we get it out to policymakers? How do we get it out there to academics and to law enforcement and other agencies? Well, obviously, we've now got our Facebook site, and we also have Criminology TV, which are part of our new Web 2 suite, which are going really well. But essentially, there's a whole range of things we do to try and get materials out there and to have them used effectively. We've got our library collection. They go into the library collection, all the stuff we do. We do a range of publications. Some are peer-reviewed, some are more the grey literature. In other words, they're put through a very tight quality assurance process internally, and I review everything that goes out, but they may not be peer-reviewed. One of the benefits the AIC has compared with universities is we haven't got the same KPIs around academic performance. So, for example, I don't mind if my staff only publish materials in the AIC's collection rather than going to peer-reviewed journals, because our stuff is peer-reviewed in a large point at any rate. I don't mind if we don't get grants from the NHMRC or from the ARC. I don't care. All I want is the money. I don't mind if it comes from a state territory police service. I don't care if it comes from one of the governments. That means we've got a bit more freedom to actually go out there and pick and choose our projects. We don't get graded on whether we've got a certain number of publications in a certain number of journals. We don't care. So it's great. That's my view anyway. But that said, our work is rigorous, and we do have peer-reviewed pubs, so we actually get academics publishing for us. They actually put their materials up, they submit materials, and we publish it, under our badge, like any other journal, which is great. But we're very flexible in our approach. And ironically enough, a lot of the work that gets into government is actually the grey literature. It's the reports that get written on at the outcomes of evaluation projects that actually lead to some policy change. So, yeah, we're pretty fluid in how we get our work out there and the forms we get it out. We've got a great website. It keeps getting refined. 200,000 page views a month at the moment and growing, which we're pretty happy with. We have a number of mail lists for which external stakeholders are on, which we can actually inform them regularly of what we're doing. And I should say, if you aren't already signed up to some of our RSS feeds or our Web 2 things like Facebook or Twitter or Criminology TV, you can join our mail list and be advised when our publications are coming out. Feel free to contact us about that. And together what we try and do is use a range of suite of, if you like, approaches to try and get the message out there. And Web 2 is the latest, and because you guys are here, it's because of Web 2 essentially. We started using Facebook. We liked the comments we were receiving. We saw some potential to actually do something for some of our stakeholders. So we've done today. We've also been creating online data tools. We've taken some of our monitoring programs and the data that sits behind them and made them available for searching and graphing online. We have two tools at the moment. The AIC Facts and Figures, which is essentially a national compendium of crime stats, which you can go in there and you can play around with. You can graph, you can remove the males and only look at certain crime types and look at certain times and certain locations, and you can do that. And we also have the Drugs and Offending Online database, which is based on our Drug Use Monitoring Australia program, and it talks about different sorts of drugs that are being found at different proportions at different sites across the country. It talks about how many detainees were identified as having a positive drug test, etc., etc. Now, we've got another 10 data sets roughly we want to try and put up over time that will allow people to be able to search that data themselves and create their own graphs and use that work themselves. There's another important element, we think, where we can actually push our work out into the audience. Of course, we also run conferences and forums of a range of sorts. These are two of our bigger ones this year. International Serious and Organised Crime Conference, which is being really developed for senior police and senior policymakers. And we're also doing a conference next year in Melbourne on young people, risk and resilience with the Victorian Safe Communities Network. We're partnering up in both cases with key agencies, with the ISOC, it's Victoria Police, Federal Police, Crime Commission and CrimTrack. And what it means is we can bring in some heavy hitters and do some useful work that actually will help inform strategic directions for criminal justice and crime interventions over the next few years. And we'll continue to do that, I think. Okay, so my last sort of is basically a plug for us. As I said at the start, you're the people who will probably end up working with in the next 10 years as you move into various career options. Some of you may want to work with us. Some of you may just come across our work occasionally. Some of you may actually be directly involved in working with us on research or through policy making or something else. So what I thought I'd do as a quick plug at the end is talk about how you can perhaps look at engaging with us in a couple of ways. One is we run summer internships each year. We run 4 or 5 of these last year. Essentially, it's a 4-week internship program where you can apply to be taken on board for the 4 or 5 weeks. You get some on-the-job experience and a working knowledge of what the AIC does. You get to work on things like research design, analysis, preparation of publications, those sorts of things. Some internships are pretty much you come in and you sit down at a desk and people talk at you. Ours aren't like that. Ours are really you get active and you'll be actually part of a team and you'll be working pretty much from day one for that 4 weeks to try and give you a real experience of what it's like to work at the AIC. We have a magazine called Brief now, and last edition actually talked about the interns from last year and what their experiences were like. So if you're interested in this sort of program, you might want to have a look at that. Next round of applications for interns opens in October 2010. If you're interested in coming to see us in summer, my advice would be put an application up. Last year we had 70 plus applications for the 4 spots, so we ended up taking 5. Okay, and the second thing, of course, is you might actually want to work with us, in a fully paid job for a number of years. We have a range of academic positions. There's 5 levels of academic research positions at the AIC, ranging from research officers to analysts to research managers. The officer positions are the more junior positions where you sort of get a range of experiences working on a range of projects. As you go up the ranks to analyst level, you're expected to start developing your own specialisation or expertise. Mine's actually violence and child protection. And you'll be tasked with managing particular projects, and the more senior you get, the more responsibility you get. You'll start running your own teams, and Matthew can talk about that potentially. I'm sure others will this afternoon as well. On the Q&A we've set up the panel. Our recruitment's driven by vacancies. In other words, people have left, we want to replace them, and or by contract income. So we get some new contracts up. We've got a spot we need to fill. We usually offer a 12 to 18 month renewable contract. So often our staff will come in on one contract and stay more for a longer period of time on other contracts. Our vacancies are advertised on the AIC website. They're in national and local print media. If you're interested in working with us, you can obviously put your CV up to our HR section whenever you feel like, to be considered for the next round. Otherwise, watch this space, and as jobs come up, feel free to apply.